Good morning, Year 4s. Welcome to today's maths lesson. If you'd like to get a pencil or pen and paper ready for you to write down some examples and do the work, this will be an opportunity for you to do so. If you already have a pen and paper, then pause the video and write the date and learning objective. Okay, today's learning objective is to explore factor pairs. We have never done factor pairs before, so this is something brand new, but I think that you will be okay with it. So to meet the learning objective, the following steps are: I can create an array using concrete resources. I can decide on which factors are part of a number. I can identify how many factor pairs a number has, and I can explain what a factor is. So before we get started on factor pairs, we will do our starter. So pause the video and have a go at those 4 questions. Okay, well done. These are your answers. So again, pause the video and mark your work. Okay, cool. So the big question today is, I have 6 counters. So here are your 6 green counters. If you do not have counters at home, you could find 6 objects, or you could just draw the counters on a piece of paper. But what we're going to do is we're going to sort them into an array where the answer is going to equal 6. So an array links to multiplication. So we've got to think of which 2 numbers equal 6 that we can also put into an array with these 6 counters. And then you've got to also think of how many different ways can you make an array with these 6 counters. So I'll give you a chance to do that on paper. So pause the video and see how many different ways you can make an array for it to equal 6. Okay, well done. So there are lots of different ways that we could have done an array. So the first one would have been, we could have moved the counters in a row like this. That was one way we could have done it. The second way was we could have had 3 counters with 2 rows. And then the third way would have been having 2 columns with 3 rows. So here's an example of what all the 3 different ways would have looked like. So we would have had 1 times 6, because we've got 1 repeating 6 times. Here we've got 2 times 3, which also equals 6, and it's 2 repeating 3 times. And the third way would have been 3 times 2, which also equals 6, because we've got 3 repeating twice. So that would have been your answer for the first question. So all of these are factors of 6, because both numbers, when multiplied, equal 6. For example, 1, 6, 2, and 3 would all be factors of 6, because when you times them together, they equal 6. So the definition of a factor is that that number, when it's divided, it can go into 6. So for example, number 1 can go into 6 times. 2 could go into 6 3 times. So if you had to count in 2s, 2, 4, 6, that would be 3 times. And 3 can go into 6 twice. So if you had to count in 3s, it would be 3, 6. So those are all factors of 6. So we can show this by drawing a diagram that looks like this over here. So we would have 6 in the middle, because that is the number that's the number that we're looking for, the factors. So we would start with number 1, and we could say 1 times 6 equals 6. Then we could think of the next number. So over here we had 2 and 3. So we could put 2 on that side, and when you times it with 3, it's going to equal 6. And then you would do 3, and if we times it by 2, it also equals 6. So these are the factors of 6. So 6 has got 3 factor pairs. If I just had to circle the factor pairs, so 1 and 6 would be 1 pair, and 2 and 3 would be another pair, and 3 and 2 would be another pair. Okay, so let's try that with the number 12. So we'll do this one together, and then I'll get you to do one by yourself. So if you want to draw an oval or a circle with 12 in the middle, and then we are going to draw, we could kind of look at this like a ladybird, and these are the legs, and each factor pair will be joined up by a leg. So it's always easiest to start with number 1. So the questions that you can ask yourself are 1 times what equals 12, or how many times can 1 be divided into 12? So most of you should know that 1 times 12 is 12. Therefore, 1 and 12 would be a factor pair of 12. Then you can go to the next number. So the next number after 1 is 2. So you will write that down. And then you can ask yourself, 2 times what equals 12? Or 12 divided by 2, so how many times can 2 go into 12? And if you had to count in 2s, if you were unsure of the answer, you would count in 2s 6 times. So therefore, 2 times 6 is 12. Okay, then you go and you try the next number. The next number is 3. So then again, you ask yourself the question, 3 times what equals 12? So what is the other pair going to be? Or you could say, how many times does 3 go into 12? And if you had to count in 3s, you would count 4 times. So 3, 6, 9, 12 would be 4 times. Therefore, the other pair is 4. Okay, and then you will notice that if I do the next number, so I've done 1, 2, and 3, if I do number 4, let's put number 4 here, I could do that again, and I know from here 3 and 4 are a pair, so that means that 4 and 3 are going to be a pair. But I don't need to do that again because I've already got that pair there, so I don't have to do the pair again. So I can just actually keep that out. Okay, so these are all the factors of 12. So if I had to say the factors of 12, I could also list them, and I could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. So those are all the factors of 12, because when you multiply them together, the pairs, they're going to equal 12. It's also important to know that we should always start with the number 1 for us to work effectively. So do we need to go all the way to 12, or can we stop halfway? So we stopped at the number 4 because we realized that 4 was already a pair of 3, so we didn't have to go any further. Okay, it might seem complicated now or tricky, but we will be working on this for the week. So if you're finding it difficult now, don't worry. This is just to explore factor pairs. So let's do another one. So this one is 15. So this one I've also done for you. So we'll just go through this one. So again, I've started at the number 1 because that's the first number. So I should start with that number. So I know that 1 times 15 is going to equal 15. So I've left out number 2. I tried number 2, but I realized it didn't work because nothing times 2 is going to give me 15. So I left that out because it's not a factor. So then I went to number 3, and I know that 3 times 5 is 15. So if I had to try number 4, and I had to count in 4s, so I would count 4, 8, 12, 16, I would realize that 4 cannot be divided into 15. Therefore, 4 is not a factor. So I would not need another factor. Then I could try number 6 as well, but if I count 6, 12, 18, it also does not go into 15, so it's not a factor. So these would be the factors of 15. Okay, why don't you have a go by yourselves now by trying to find all the factors of number 10. So in your books, you can draw an oval and I'll put the number 10 in the middle and have a go. You can pause the video and see if you can work out all the factors of 10. Okay, let's have a look and see. So again, to work effectively, you would start with the number 1. And you would ask yourself, 1 times what is going to give me 10? Or how many times can 1 go into 10? So 1 times 10 is 10. So those are a factor pair. Then I would go to number 2. And I'd say 2 times what equals 10. And from your multiplication knowledge, you should know that 2 times 5 equals 10. Right, and then you should also know that you can try number 3, but you would know hopefully from your 3 times table, the 3's cannot go into 10. So 3, 6, 9, 12, it is not being divided into 10 equally. So that would not be a factor. And neither would 4. And then 5 would be a factor, but we've already got it on this side. So we don't need to write that down. So this number has got 1, 2 factor pairs. So a pair is 2 numbers, so it's 2 factor pairs. And the factors of 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10. Okay, so I hope that you understand that a little bit. If you do not, we're just going to have a go today. Like I said, the learning objective is to explore factor pairs. So we will be doing this again tomorrow. So if you normally go to Miss Hand's group, you can do the factor pairs of these numbers. So 4, 6, 8, and 10. So you can draw the ovals in your book and the lines coming from each side to create your pairs. If you are normally in Mrs. Staple or my class, Miss Jackson's class, you can do the silver or the gold. They're the same numbers, but if you're going to do the gold one, you can challenge yourself by then thinking of your own number and trying to find the factor pairs of your own number. And it could even be as high as a 3-digit number to challenge yourself. So you can pause the video, take your time doing these. There's no limit. I'd say about 20 minutes, but as long as you need to see if you can work out the factor pairs of these numbers. Okay, well done, guys. I hope that you managed to just have a go and explore factor pairs of these numbers. So the answers, so Miss Hand's group, these are your answers for the factors of 4, 6, 8, and 10. So pause the video and mark your work. Maybe check where you've gone wrong. If you've made a mistake, that is okay. We will do this again tomorrow. Okay, and if you are in Mrs. Staple or Miss Jackson's class and you did the silver or gold, these are the answers for those numbers. If you have done the challenge and you have thought of your own number, you can either send me an email and I can mark the work for you, or you can ask an adult at home to check. Okay, well done, guys. It is the first lesson where we've done factor pairs. It's the first one that you've done online as well. So if you did find that tricky, don't worry about it. You are welcome to email me your work, or you can send a picture and email it to the Year 4 address, and I will have a look at it. But well done, and we will carry on with this tomorrow. Bye.